Greetings, friends. Your cartoonist pal San here for another episode of Random Encounters, the show where I use random encounter tables like the kind you find in role playing games like Dungeons and Dragons to create randomized cartooning prompts. And then I'd cartoon them. That's the whole thing. Make a prompt, draw a prompt. It's like the penny at the check at the convenience store. Take a penny, need a penny, take a penny. Make a prompt, draw a prompt. That's what we're doing here. That's what we do here each week. It's just me and my uh, iPad Pro with an Apple Pencil and the app Procreate. None of this is sponsored. It's just what I use because I like to use it. And sorry, I'm trying to be all smooth and talk to you and get my stuff ready at the same time. And that's how it goes. And, of course, you're here too, which is good because, I do this for fun. I don't need to turn the camera on. I turned it on because I wanted joy. I wanted to share it with you. And I'm happy that you're here. And I want to encourage you all to do your own drawing. Drawing is this, I do this because it's fun. And I want to share the fun of drawing. Now, whether you draw the same things I draw, or you draw something else that you want to draw, just grab a pen, grab a piece of paper, grab your own electronic pad, do some drawing, just for the fun of it. Hello, Linnea. Hello, Dave. And I'm guessing hello, Gus, there on the couch. The lemons are in the house, which is good. So, I've explained what I'm doing. I've said hi to the folks who are there, and if you're watching and you want to say hi in the chat, I'll say back. I'll say hi back. And there may come some time during the show when I'm looking for some help to figure out what we're going to draw, and that's where you come in too. If you have any ideas, put them in the chat. I know that Dave often has a lot of ideas, and I appreciate them. They're almost always awesome ideas. Sometimes they're too awesome, which can be a problem because I'm a bear of very little brain. No, I'm you know you know what I'm saying. So let's get going, shall we? We're going to look here over at what's going on the iPad. These are our encounter tables for the week. That's what we're going to use to get some ideas going. And in order to do that, I'm also going to come over here and bring up a die roller. So we're going to roll the dice to see what comes up on the random encounter table. So we're going to roll once, twice, third time. Three. Three is our first who. And once, twice, third time. Six. Six is our first what. So let's go on back to those tables and see what that gets us. That's a 3 is a dwarf, and a 6 is a shepherd. A dwarf shepherd. All right. All right. So come over here. I'm going to turn off that. We're on the sketch layer. We've got the right color. I like to do my sketching in blue. So we're set on blue. We've got the right brush. We're on the right layer. Seems like we got everything we need. Let's see about a dwarf shepherd. Okay, so let's just see here. I'm going to have a dwarf. I'm probably going to want to change that a little, but that's a good start. The dwarf is going to have a big old shepherd's crook. Not quite sure. There's not anything that's immediately popping out to me joke-wise, except that as a dwarf, the sheep might be pretty big compared to him. Let's shrink that down a little. Suppose if it had been a gnome, then we could, or a halfling, we could definitely have done that. But dwarf works too. Wonder what sort of animals dwarves would watch over. That's another thing. It's maybe it's the thing isn't that it's not a sheep. Although I've certainly started off like that. There's no reason um, we need to continue with that. This is we're right now in the getting ideas phase of this. Hello, JJ. Thank you for joining us tonight. Appreciate seeing you here. Usually, JJ is here for joins us for the sumo show on Friday nights. Um, what what might a dwarf shepherd that was not a sheep? Piercers or zorns? Piercers don't be piercers are going to be tough to shepherd them from the floor of the cavern, but that's kind of funny. Zorns also funny just because they are so weird. Zorns, for those who don't know, are these weird creatures with a mouth on top, eyes on the side, and tentacles that come out, and they are basically dungeon um, bottom feeders. They just eat stuff, whatever's on the ground. They eat poop. Um, Both of those. So that might be funny. The idea I'm going to zoom in here of maybe a dwarf shepherd reaching up with his crook because the piercers are up there. Piercers are like stalactites. Um, they cling to the top of the cavern and then drop and pierce you below, which is how they get their name. So something like that with a dwarf, get along. That might be a good piercer. Purple worms. That's a purple worm herder is that sound. We could make an evening of doing drawings of dwarf shepherds shepherding different things. We've come up with several interesting ideas here. I think. Well, you know what? If I was going to do a story about this, I think I'd pick the Zorn because that seems really interesting to me. Just this image, though, of the dwarf shepherding, trying to shepherd piercers up on top of the uh, uh, the cavern. That I think has my attention here. That's what I'm going to do. So there we go. See the audience participation. There's something suddenly. I'm talking to Sean Connery. So we'll clear that out of there, and we'll go back and do that again. All right. So we're gonna draw in here again, just a rough shape. He's gonna be reaching up with his crook. Like that. Let's see how I can move him around on the page to get some more. All right. I like this. I like this idea. Do an entire evening just pitching ideas. I like to say if my my dream for this show is that we get regularly get enough of an audience that we can that I can just make it like an improv show, and we do just go to the audience, have a start, and do that. But a there's not always a lot of people showing up here, and I don't like I said, Dave. You do come up with some with really good ideas, and I feel comfortable that you would, but you would continue to reliably do that. But I still want to not make it the Dave show, because then what do I do on weeks when you for some reason you can't be there? But I've been trying to think about. I tell you what, I've been trying to think what to do. This is show number 50 this week, which I thought about making a big deal about because 50 is a nice one of those nice round numbers that seem worth celebrating. But I decided not to because 50 means that in 2 weeks it's going to be 52, which means one year. So instead, I'm trying to think of something to uh, to do that's interesting and fun for our 1 year anniversary on the show, and maybe a whole night uh, of audience only. Right, we'll just kind of get off the get off the random encounter table and let you guys take center stage. I don't know. Say I haven't really come up with a an awesome idea, and I'm open to suggestions. As always, I'm open to suggestions. Uh, all right, so there we go. Let's say it's gonna be saying yeah. Yeah. Get along there, little piercers. That's what we're gonna do here. Oh, we've got a lot of chat going on here. Ravenlore pops in, says, "What am I working on? I'm working on the prompt is dwarf shepherd." So after consulting here with the audience, we got the dwarf is shepherding piercers because underground. JJ says, "Was curious to see what else you and Troy get up to. Can't hang out." Okay, no, you're welcome. You're welcome to stay as long as you like. No, Troy is not part of this. This one is just me. But yeah, this is my improv cartooning show. Not a Daveless show. Well, Dave's he's got a life. He's got a life beyond showing up to my my live streams, and I do not begrudge him that. But of course, it's always better when Dave and Linnea and Gus show up. So do what I can to encourage them to be here. All right. Moore says, I noticed my first show that random table. Well, we're going to go back to that. So this being your first show, I should let you know that the way it works is I got the random encounter tables and uh, I do a drawing. Try to get it done in about 15-20 minutes. Usually it's somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes. And then when I finish that, I go back uh, to the encounter table and we do it again. I usually do 3 drawings a night. So although you miss the random encounter part or the encounter table part of this drawing, in about 15 minutes we'll be going back again. So if you can hang out, you'll get to see that. And as I was saying just before you came um, in 2 weeks, it's going to be the 1 year anniversary of this show, and I'm trying to come up with something exciting to do to celebrate that. I'm also trying to come up with some way to make a bigger deal about that, so maybe I can get some coverage in the geek online press and help to grow the audience a little. I love the audience I have, but it's always nice to have more. All right, here we go. I think this is an interesting gag in that it is funny on its own, but mostly the starting with the question of what animals do dwarf shepherds shepherd just led to a fun discussion and interesting thought experiments that I think are even funnier than the answer drawing. Well, maybe not funnier, but there's a lot more. There's a lot of legs in that conversation. That would be a fun kind of sit around at the pub and just have a chat about it. Yeah, yeah. Get along there. Little, and then I'm gonna make the brush a little bigger so I can get that bold feeling. Yeah, get along there, little piercers. And we've got ourselves if I was going to draw this in a more um, careful way, I think I would. In I was thinking as I'm drawing the bottom part of the cave, I'd probably put a roper or two down there. He's not caring about the ropers because he's shepherding the piercers. There we go. So now if I turn off the sketch layer and look at what we've got there, I can see a few places where it might be good to add a few extra lines in. Want to make sure I get that feeling of rockiness on the piercers. I think I also want to come in here and let's have them meh, bah, bah. I never really thought that a piercer would 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 bleat like that, but why not? That goes along with the shepherd idea. Bah, bah, bah. All right, so that's looking good. And having done that, we're now going to add in just a little bit of color. Because again, for those who are new tonight, that's what we do. We add in a little color. So to do that, I go to a new color layer. I like to do my coloring with a brush that's called gloaming. The reason I like using this is that it has a feeling that's somewhere between a crayon and a marker, and it allows me to do this kind of uh, imprecise coloring that looks good and also approximates what would happen if you at home were a using a marker or a crayon. Right, you can get in there. Let's say I often will talk about this and do this where you color roughly and you color to the shapes within the shape. So within the beard, let me actually put up a new layer so I can show this. Within the beard, shape-wise, this is a shape, and that's a shape. Here is a shape, and so I color to those shapes, and so I don't have to get out of there. I don't have to finish drawing it, and it helps give it kind of a extra three-dimensional feeling that is not really there, but your brain fills in the details. I'll often talk about that. I love making your brain do the work for me. And then here, I've got a shape there and a shape there and a large shape here. And you can do that with your coloring at home to, if you've got a coloring book or just something you're doing for fun, as a way to impress your friends. You won't have filled in all the spaces, but um, it'll have a more tactile feeling, more complete feeling. Okay, And we're going to come here for a bit of shepherd's crook. Using different shades of brown. And then we need, and again, an even more different shade of brown for the rocks. Here, zoom in a little on this, and I think the rocks make it even easier to see shapes within shapes, because I've tried to be little extra geometric so that they would have that rocky feeling to them. But you see that, I mean, I'm hoping that it makes sense, that you can see the shapes that I'm doing. And let's see, let's give maybe a green color for the bars. And maybe a purplish for the ya. Ya. Let's go back and grab this same color that we did for the top of the cavern. We can use it along the bottom of the cavern too. All right, so there's one last thing I like to do, um, and that's to go in along with the doing that shape coloring, is just to add a little bit of shading. I don't like to talk about shadows because I'm not using the same rules as shadows. But what I do is I take a darker version of each of the colors. So let's see. Come on, come on. There we go. So I'll grab that color and go to my wheel and go down and a little to the right. Get a darker version of it. And then on the underside of the shapes, just put a little shade. And that, again, starts to just give it a little bit of extra feeling of three-dimensionality. Same thing there, just a little darker. And we're going to go to the underside. In this case, I'm going to left and underside. Just put a couple of extra little dark patches. And look how it really kind of makes them pop a little. I'll tell you one of the things I'm also going to do here. I'm looking at how this has come out, and it's all very, that brown is really, and it's a good color, but it's really very dark, and it's making it harder to see the line. So I'm going to change the opacity on the colors and drop it back a little. And what that literally what that's doing is making them partially see-through. But practically what that's doing is toning the colors down a little, just making them a little less so. So let me put that over here so you can see it. And when I lower the opacity, you'll see that those colors start to fade. They just get a little lighter and lighter and lighter. The more I drop the opacity, the more you can see through them and see the white beneath it. Oh, look, I gave them an unintended mustache. All right, get there. So I'm going to drop it about 20%, I think. That's maybe too much. 15, somewhere between 10 and 15%. And because when we do that, look how hard it is to see the lines, particularly on the piercers. But if I drop it back just 10%, those lines start to show up a lot easier. So we get down, we get to 15%. Once I get below 15, the dwarf starts looking washed out. But there we go. So now we'll call that done. I'll go back to my lines layer, go back to my drawing brush, and I'll just put my little stand on it. And we have ourselves a dwarf shepherd. And that's our first drawing for the evening. So that's how that goes. I'm going to pause and take a little drink here, and let's see what's going on in the chat room. And then we'll get on to a second drawing. Let's see. I'm trying to find where I stopped. Love random tables. They save me so much time in games. Yes, then random tables are great. And I think that I really enjoy putting them to this use. This kind of taking them and finding a way to just make it not, a game, like a drawing game. So yeah, writing right now, but watching, well, yeah, no, this is a great thing to have on in the background. You don't have to pay full attention. Look up every once in a while, have some fun. I'd love to mention it in my next video. I would love that. Thank you, Ravenlore. If you want to do a slight, a little mention of it and a link or something, I would say thank you very kindly. Forever after piercers bleat like sheep. Yeah, well, when that starts showing up in people's campaigns, I'll know where it came from. We'll all know where it came from. You go to the cavern and you just wait, listen. Meh, be careful, there's piercers. Shepherd rocks. Quite literally, this shepherd rocks. Well played. All right, so I'm going to take another sip. I'm going to get my my board here set for a second drawing. And I'm going to pause because I put chapters in the video when we're done. So I'd like to give myself a pause to start a fresh chapter with. All right, so we go. Well, I also rather don't want to start off stumbling over my words. Better. All right, so we finished our first drawing, and it's time to get on to a second one. So we're going to go back to the... I closed out the dice. That wasn't a good idea. All right, we're going to go back to the dice, and we're going to roll them again, get another pairing, see what we got, and do another drawing. So let's go once, twice, third time, and 6 is our who. And anyone who's watched before knows that 6 is... I always keep adventurers in the 6 slot. This is going to be adventurers, and what are they doing? 1, adventurer or adventurers, Tarzan. I've been playing around the last few shows with adding in mashup things. We had a Beholder Star Trek a couple of episodes ago, so I thought Tarzan might be a fun one. Oh, adventurer Tarzan. I was hoping that if Tarzan came up, it would be with a creature. But the thing about random encounters is that we anyone who's gaming knows the dice don't lie. So, Adventurer Tarzan it is. What so I'm going to come back here. I'm going to turn off the tables. We're going to come to the sketch layer, back to the blue sketch, and we're going to figure out something for Adventurer Tarzan. Um, so the first thing I'm thinking about is Tarzan in armor and how that really wouldn't work terribly well. Um, like if we had, oh, I didn't want to do that. It's a problem with using a touch screen. I don't like to use those gloves that a lot of artists do, which means that I have weird artifacts sometimes will show up on screen. One of the things that this program tends to do, is misread when I touch the screen that I'm saying undo, so it redoes the last thing that I or it gets rid of whatever the last move I made was. All right, so let's zoom in here, and so because we've got just kind of as a we got a Tarzan swinging on the vine, right? Almost always if you're gonna do something generic with Tarzan, it's probably gonna be Tarzan swinging on a vine. Like that, roughly. But now, if we put him in armor, and what's funny about armor is that it's heavy and it doesn't work right, so it probably wouldn't want to do that. Or, I mean, if I did, the joke would be something more along the lines of him hanging on at the end of the rope as the apes go swinging by overhead, and he's like, I can't swing in armor, which is not. It's got that might be the start of a joke. That in itself is not a joke. So we're going to take that off. Let's see. Tarzan and Adventurers. Tarzan swinging on a vine off a death's head tree. That's possible. Um, let's just clear this layer and start again. So and he doesn't have to be swinging, right? We could just have, and so here's the combination I'm having is Tarzan's got his big, I don't know what you call it, the slung over leopard print. Um, hmm, hmm. I'm still just sketching without really an idea. I got a Tarzan here and a gorilla. Um, um, Sometimes I start off with what I seems like it's wow, this is gonna be a great idea. Like I don't know what I want to do with it. Wrestling a gorilla, talking to, riding an elephant, fighting a big cat. I mean, yeah, these are all I don't know. I mean, I picked Tarzan because of this, because there are so many things you can do. I'm just having a hard time pairing it. Like if it had been Mimic was on our list, Mimic Tarzan, the vine could have been a Mimic or whatever. The fact of the matter that we've got maybe what we have is different the different fantasy races each being Tarzan, right? So we could have a little halfling Tarzan and a dwarf Tarzan and an elf Tarzan. And oh, if I grab those, move them off a little, and we could have the human Tarzan over here. There we go. Okay, got my idea. All right. You know what? I'm not even going to say it out loud because once I do, then the mystery is gone. I'm going to grab him and move him up a little. Because humans are basically the biggest. All right, there we go. I've got a very, very rough sketch. Sometimes I do more thorough sketches than that. This time I'm not. I'm just going to stick to this because the idea is pretty pretty silly, and there's no reason to get overly cute with the drawing. And have hobbity feet on my halfling. And now you'll see part of the trick in cartooning, or part of uh, the thing that makes this kind of cartooning easier is having a bag full of ready-made. It's like a soup starter kit, right? That you have the ideas. Like if I need to draw a dwarf, I think you can see right here the things that are. I go back to the bag of tricks, and I've got the makings of a dwarf just ready to go. And if I was doing when I'm doing finished drawings, I don't always use the same dwarf. But for a quickie cartoon, the what you're trying most is to make sure that your audience knows what you've drawn, and so playing into expectations means that these kind of stock versions of the characters are helpful. I Yeah, those of you who've seen this before know that sometimes I'll spend more time and get a more polished, finished look on the cartoons. Sometimes it's just get the get it done, get it out on the paper, as it were. I mean, it's not paper, so well, I'm looking at these. I'm thinking, all right, well, Tarzan. Tarzan often is shown just wearing a loincloth, as opposed to the full on half robe thing I've got him in. I'm thinking that's maybe giving more of uh, a caveman than a Tarzan look, possibly. But I think he's Tarzan. Tarzan has a little knife. All right, so here we go. I'm going to change that mouth on. He's being a little more forceful. And that's one of those things, again, you kind of learn. Like, I can put these just serious looks on their face and they're fine. And our elf previously had a small. He's saying something kind of offhanded, but he doesn't look like he's complaining. Here, make it a little bigger, and suddenly that changes. Wow, just Look at the difference in that face. What the emotion feels like there versus there. I That's the same in either case. You can put a little mouth there, or a big mouth there. You can actually put it a little there, change it, and it look like he's more of a question. Do that, and he's looking like he's got one up on you. Ha ha! So these are the little differences in cartooning that you just learn from practicing. Although you learn by you can learn a lot by studying what other cartoonists have done, but once you start practicing, once you start doing drawings, you you can experiment and see how much of a difference of just a little change in something like that, the shape of a mouth can make. And you make a mental note of it. You bring that along with you for next time. All right. So what they're going to be saying is why? How about who says let me. Tarzan has to be a human. Now, I realize I've put that too close to his head, but again, good thing that I'm drawing digitally. I can grab that and just move it off there, and it works great. Who says Tarzan has to be a human? Now I can turn off the sketch lines, and again, now I see where maybe my quick drawing had left a little open space for me to add a few extra lines just to clear things up, clean things up. And if we put some little leaf shapes in the background, it'll feel more jungly. There we go. So I'm going to add some quick colors onto this. Again, I'll come back and switch over to that gloaming brush so we get uh, the crayony, markery kind of shape feeling to it. And that means I can get colors in here quickly. Although I certainly do find myself again realizing that I'm making everyone awfully pale pink skinned, which doesn't have to be. Who says Tarzan has to be human? Who says Tarzan has to have pink skin? Grab that same color for the dwarf's hair that I did last time, since it's still hanging around on my palette. And then we'll also use maybe more yellow orange here for the tiger leopard spotted thing. There we go. Want to get a green. I want that to be lighter. And I had to, one of the reasons I had to change the opacity last time was that the background was so dark. I'm trying to learn a lesson here and just make sure I get my background colors lighter so they don't draw too much attention to themselves. Go. And if I do a darker one, we can put that there. Remember, it's the dark of the jungle. Gotta put a little darkness in the background. Here we go. And I don't think I need to worry about shading on this one. I think everything is simple enough. That probably looks better without getting. Sometimes you don't want uh, to add in that extra bit. Particularly when you want people to look at something quickly and just kind of process it. The more details you give them, the more you're telling them to pay attention. So there are times when you just don't. You want to stay away from the details uh, to let them know this is something. This is a quick visual to look at and move on. Look here, we'll come in and we'll put the stand on there, and we've got Tarzan and the Adventurers. Tarzan and the Adventurers. Okay, so let's pause here again. I'll take a little sip and see what's going on. Oh, Becky is here. I saw another person show up, and Terry is here. Yes, Flintstones is exactly what it's like. Caveman Flintstones. Yeah, well, live and learn. The next time I do Tarzan, it'll just be loincloth. Um, oh, Becky said, "What did?" So, in case you missed it, this one was Tarzan and Adventurers. Um, meet Tarzan, you Tarzan. That would have been funny too. uh, Uh, Dave says that he just stumbled into Gru meets Tarzan. Have you read that? Well, I know Dave is a big Gru fan, big fan of Gru the Barbarian, by the great cartoonist Sergio Aragonés. Um, that was I was aware of that as it was coming out. It was an interesting look because Sergio was working with some other cartoonists who have much more realistic style than his, and it was all kind of blended together. Okay. What was I going to say? Well, we're on a pause here. I'm going to remind everyone, whether you're watching now live or watching it on replay, that it's super helpful to me if you take a minute to click the like button or the thumbs up or whatever. This is going out to several platforms. Each platform will have its own thing, but if you click the like, if you're leaving comments here, that's great. If you give a heart, if you share it with your friends, this is very helpful to me, and not just because it makes me feel good. So it's explaining on another show earlier this week. It is helpful to me because what that does is everyone's talking about the algorithm. You always hear people complaining about the algorithm with good reason on many occasions, but if you play the game right, you can work the algorithm. And the thing is, when you click the like and the heart and you leave a comment, that tells the algorithm that not only are you watching, but you are engaged. And that tells the algorithm, oh, this is an engaging video. This channel does engaging stuff. I should tell more people about it. And that's, of course, is the goal always. Get more people to show up. Get more people to come and have fun with us. So, just wanted to take a second to say, please, give me a like. Give me a thumbs up. I'm not begging you to like me for the emptiness of my hollow shell of a self. That's an added bonus. All right, here we go. One more time, get a little drink, get it set up, and then we'll do one more drawing and we'll call it an evening. So, we've done the Tarzan and the Adventurers. We did the Dwarf Shepherd. And now we're going to do one more. Here we go. All right, well, time for one more drawing, and then we'll call it a night. We're going to go back and do the rolling of the dice to find out what our third pairing is going to be. So we're going to come here. We're going to roll once, twice, third time, and 3. Did we start off with a 3? I don't even remember. I think 3 was dwarf last time. So if it is, those of you in the chat, I'm going to be asking you to pitch in and come up with a replacement because I don't want to repeat them. So once, twice, and third time, and 1. So that gets us. We got 2. We got dwarf Tarzan. That's no good. That's no good. We got a double repeat, which means it's wide open and we could do anything. You know, you're talking about earlier, Dave, about how great it would be to have a show where it was all pitched from you guys. Be careful what you ask for. I mean, if there's nothing, if you guys don't have anything, I could flip them. I look at this chart right now, and if we went for 1, that would be a mimic, and 3 would be a mimic selfie. So if you guys don't have anything that you're particularly inspired for, I will probably go for that. But here it is open. What would you like to see me do a cartoon of? Who and what? What kind of situation? We can play with it a little here in chat and see what we come up with. Or I'm doing a mimic selfie, and not even sure exactly how that would work. A kaiju mimic, Carrie says, and doesn't have to come from this table. It can be anything. Once we're off the table, we're off the table. Beholder annual physical. All right. I'm liking these. These are some pretty good starts. Anyone else? There's a live audience. I'd be pointing to people. You there. I'm talking to you. A mouse artificer. Brain working, therefore mouth stopping. Raven, yeah, you got here at just the right time, Ravenlore. You got here for the wide open, wild, wild west of improv cartooning. Isn't that Disney the mouse artificer. Yeah, it kind of. You can make a case for several characters that might be like that. Sounds kind of like Secret of Nim, really. Um, Ravenlord says on the spot, "What to say? What to say?" Now you know. Now you know. Uh, that's the rush of being on this side of it. It's oh, you got to respond. You got to know. Can't leave dead air. All right, so let's come back here, and I'll turn off the image, and we'll come back and start just kind of noodling around. Werewolf picking out a new pair of glasses. So I'm thinking of here. Just going to draw this for. Thinking of like the wolf with like Groucho glasses on, and grandma's still in grandma's night thing. I don't know what grandma, what big eyes you have. This, I mean, you could just forget about the night shift. It could just be the werewolf, the wolf there with the thing on and saying, "Wolf? No, I've never seen any wolf." there's some there. Let's see what else we got. Confused werewolf during an eclipse. Oh, I mean the eclipse being next week. That's a good one. Uh, all right, you know what I'm doing the werewolf in the eclipse. I've got I don't know if this is going to work out well, but I've got an idea. So there we go. I need a basic running pose. Oh, if he's running. So I'm just trying to think of how this is going to work. If we have let's just zoom in here. So if we have the world here, we've got the eclipse going on here. We've got the eclipse is happening here. Now is the werewolf's going to be human here on either side of it, werewolf inside where the eclipse is? Is that what we're supposing? That's what I'm supposing. Um, oh no, I want to do that. Just erase this thing. Okay, that's what I'm supposing. What happens to a werewolf? Well, we're about to find out because that's what this drawing is. All right. Here we go. This is I think that this might be something that would be fun to draw. Uh, without this without this time conceit, because it's I'm gonna get something here which is an interesting idea, but I know that if I played around with it more, I'd I'd be able to get more ideas. Right, this kind of thing I will sometimes talk about. This show is a good um, simulation of what what I'm trying to do two things at once. It's making circles within circles is harder than a lot of other things. Okay, I often will say that the question I get asked most, and the question most of my uh, friends who are cartoonists or writers of any sort get asked most, or where do your ideas come from? Where do you get ideas? And this show is a this idea of using the uh, random encounter tables, use my words, using random encounter tables to do this is a version of the kind of thing I do when I'm trying to think of cartoon ideas. I'll just play games with myself. Uh, and and in the end, the thing you're doing is trying to stimulate your brain to come up with an idea it wouldn't have otherwise. Now, sometimes ideas just come to you, and where they come from, I don't know. That's just how the brain works. It throws random stuff to you, and even if you're not a cartoonist, you know that sometimes your brain will just send an idea to you, and you don't know where the heck it came from. Um, but when I'm trying to make it happen, then I'm trying to find a way to force my brain to give me something that it wouldn't normally. And so I I try to trick it. I do things like present it questions that it wouldn't uh, it wouldn't come up with on its own. I try and create pairings like the kind you get in that random encounter tables. And then when you have them, you just start playing around with ideas, kind of like we're doing here. You, and I think that look at what we do here. We've done here today, right? We get an idea and put it down, and then think, well, how can I change that? What if I do this? Is that good enough? Someone will throw an idea out. Someone will throw an ad. What if this? What if that? That's where ideas come from. It's from playing with those things you never thought you'd have to do, and then seeing where it takes you. Here we go. Thinking that the first thing, and again, so this is the kind of thing, the first thing I'm thinking of him saying is, gotta get to the totality. But that's not really funny. So I'd play around with that. How is he going to phrase? The idea is that he wants to be in totality. But if I don't come up with anything else, in the end, he's going to be saying, gotta get to the totality. Now, I leave it in your hands as I finish doing a little bit of drawing here to come up with a better idea that I can change that into. Alright, so that is basically the drawing. Now go and do some coloring, and hopefully you folks are thinking of, well, I gotta take those out and see what I can add here to make this a little better. Put some extra line work in here, just so that we can see a little better what's going on. But I think I did a pretty good job first time through. The only thing, this face part is a little weird because the eyes aren't quite matching up, but the shape of the face changes. There's really not a lot to do about that. If I want to get the idea that that's a werewolf face, I'm going to have to accept the fact that the eyes aren't going to fall exactly the way I would want them to normally. But let's go to the colors. Switch to my gloaming brush. Here, and put that there. Oh, make sure I get it, the part of the nose. And then I think I'm going to give him blondish hair. Oh, I want it to be a different color than the werewolf fur. For the werewolf fur, that's a good one. We're going to have that look there. And I want a lighter color for the underside of the foot and a darker color for the nails. Come in here and right away do the do a bit of shading. So get that out of the way. And just put a little darkness on the underside of things. And it's going to give it a feeling of texture and three-dimensionality beyond what it really deserves. And same thing on the pale, skinny side. I was just looking over there, and I think that Dave hit the phrasing that I like best. I'm gonna stop and look a little more closely, but I think he's got it there. So I'm going to come back here. Let's see what we got here. Only 19 minutes totality. It's cartoony. It's not NASA. Let's see. Roll up a bit. Oh, got a lot of good suggestions here. I was pulling for the flump. Yeah, well, I thought the flump's going to stay on there. So you come back next week, the flump will still be on the list. In fact, most of the things that didn't get chosen will still be craziest grandmother I've ever seen. We got here. Maybe better with a lunar eclipse. Yeah, well, yes, no. Greg is right that this would make more logical sense. If I were going to write a story about it, it would be a lunar eclipse, not a solar eclipse. But solar eclipse is what we're having next week, and it's still funny. The moon is new. It's cartoony, not NASA. Still funny. Only 19 minutes totality. Is it 96%, 97%? Come on, totality. That's the one I looked up and saw, and I like. So, uh, so we'll come back here. We will erase what's inside our word balloon and replace it. Let's see. Ooh, wrong brush. 96%. 97%. Come on. Oh, dear. Lettering is a difficult skill. It's especially hard to do on the fly. Do well on the fly, I should say. Okay, 96%, 97%. Come on, totality. And then we'll stick a little stand here at the bottom because I think that's it. Well done, my friends. Well done. And I think this is a pretty funny cartoon. I think we did a good job. And I post these to my social media. I think that this one's going to get a very strong reaction. Good job, my friends. All right, so I'm going to straighten up have another sip, and then we'll do a wrap up, and that'll be it for tonight. All right, well, it was a good evening of cartooning. We got 3 nice improv cartoons out of this. We have a werewolf on the eclipse, on the day of the eclipse, the solar eclipse, big coming up next week. We had, let's come on here. We had Adventurers and Tarzan. And we had a dwarf shepherd. And a lot of interesting concepts this week. A lot of high concept cartoons. And I like that. I want to thank everyone. We had a very, very active conversation in the chat room and a lot of really great ideas, particularly that last one. That all came out of the chat room. So good going, everyone. I'm going to take just a minute to say thank everyone who's been in the chat room, everyone who's watching on replay for tuning in. If you want to follow me and catch all this, this will go up on all my social media, but Instagram is the best place to look for the art. All the things I do publicly will wind up there. It's instagram.com/Stanax. If you like what... Oh, didn't want to do that. I wanted to do that. If you like what I'm doing and you want to get more of it, you may want to consider coming on over and becoming a member of my Patreon, which is at patreon.com/Stanax. Lots of fun stuff. The upper levels at that get a sticker sent to them several times a year. And of course, everything, you won't even have to go looking for my social media, because if you are a member at any level on my Patreon, then I send you updates so that anything I do publicly will just wind up in your inbox. You won't have to worry about chasing it down. But speaking of things I do, there's another show I do on Wednesday nights called 50 Years in the Dungeon, and that's a show to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Dungeons & Dragons, which is happening this year. Each week on the show, I have a guest who has worked on Dungeons & Dragons, specifically either at TSR, at the original company, or Wizards of the Coast, the company that owns it now. I worked at both, so I've got a couple of connections to get some interesting guests in there. We have a chat. We talk about their career and D&D and the hobby. And while that's happening, I do a cartoon homage to a classic piece of Dungeons and Dragons artwork, which is always a lot of fun. So I invite you, please stop by. There's Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific time. You can catch it on replay here on my YouTube channel or any of the other channels where you find my videos. And we have a free newsletter for the show, which you can get at 50yearsinthedungeon.substack.com. That will get you all the information on upcoming shows. It'll get you to be able to see the finished art from the show 4 or 5 days ahead of everyone else in the world. And there are also paid levels to that's what you get at the free levels. There are paid levels where you get other things too. Not going to push that too hard, except to say, well, I'm going to push it a little hard. You get discounts on merch. You get I have what are called process videos of showing the entire process of the art condensed into 30 seconds or a minute, and those are things that only the people who are on the paid subscription get to see. But the free subscription is pretty good on its own. I highly encourage it. So 50yearsinthedungeon.substack.com. Come on over, have a look, have some fun. And I had a couple of people pop in here who are I recognize from my Friday night show, which is sumo. It's called the Sumo Show, and it is all about Japanese Grand Sumo, which I'm a big fan of. Has nothing to do with cartooning. No cartooning going on there. All sumo. But if that's your kind of thing, then you'll enjoy it. And if it's not your kind of thing, check it out once or twice. You might find that it is your kind of thing. God, I love sumo. Anyway, I am going to wrap it up here. Say thank you again to everyone who was in the live chat. Ravenlore and Dave and Linnea and Becky and who else was here? Kerry and JJ was in earlier. I really appreciate everyone who's here. Come on back when you get a chance. Those of you who are watching, I know looking at the numbers, there were more people watching live who didn't chat, and that's okay. You're welcome to just sit back and watch for the fun of it. But you're welcome. You're welcome to chat anytime you want. And I hope you're doing some drawing too. So until next time, grab yourself some pencil and paper. Draw just for fun. Do a little drawing every day just for fun. That'd make me happy. And I will see you all next time for some more random encounters and improv cartooning. Take care, everyone. Bye.